Hey there, shout out to all 118 people that are following me at the time of me making this video. This is talking to myself, the time every morning where I get up and I sit down, I get my morning glass of water, and I decided to talk to you guys about things that I was thinking the day before, laying in bed at night, and yeah. This is just me talking to myself. No one's here. It's just me ranting in long form, so be prepared. Could last 5 minutes, could last 20. And I apologize for nothing because I've said what I've said. Thank you for those who like to listen to things in the background, like a podcast or something. It really makes me feel better about the fact that I can rant for days. First things first, you've heard me talk about how I was looking for the 50mm f2 from Fujifilm or the 56 1.4 from Viltrox as my next lenses. I already rolled out the 90 f2, and that was just for reasons of I don't know if I'd use the 90 f2 right now, so it didn't look like a sound investment. I've made the mistake of investing in things that I didn't necessarily need because I thought, ooh, but if I have this, I can do this work in the future, and it's always better to start doing the work with the gear that you have and then move to something that helps you with that future endeavor, if that makes sense. So whether it's recording audio, video, taking photos, working on leather, working on cars, anything like that, tools for a trade that you're working, for welding, for plumbing, whatever it is, don't buy stuff before you need it in hopes that one day you'll be able to use it. Unless you're a lawyer and you're buying a pin because you're gonna have to do lawyer stuff with that. Lawyers and buying pins are one thing that I'll let slide on this. Shout out to young Ansel. But yeah, so basically what I'm trying to say is I'm not buying the 90 f2 no matter how much I think I would like it. And I'm not buying, and it's not a price thing, because I understand I could buy the Viltrox 85 1.8 and get about the same effective focal length, but I'm just not a fan of the Viltrox 85 1.8. I don't like not having an aperture ring and clickless aperture rings now. It's just something to where when I'm shooting on the fly, I can count in my head how many clicks I'm going. And on the X Pro 3, that's even more important. So I can count in my head how many I'm going when I'm looking and talking to someone and put my eye back up and know I'm getting the right click or the right aperture. So that's something that, I'm not down for. So I was looking at the 50mm f2 from Fujifilm, the 56 1.4 from Viltrox, basically the 56 1.2 from Fujifilm as well. So I was weighing all these out, and at first it was a 50mm f2 that I was thinking of getting, because I've shot with it before. I like it. It's something that I feel more comfortable taking around for street photography, honestly, and I don't know why. It's something that I feel more comfortable when I'm shooting family members, or not shooting family members, I don't want to end up in jail, when I'm taking photos of family members or just candid moments in my life. So it's something that I felt a lot more comfortable with getting in that regard. But then I just started to think about, I don't want to have to buy a 46mm filter thread, which I'm having a hard time finding that, like on Amazon Prime or something. So I was like, I just want to have the same lens filters for everything, because I've already got a couple of them already, and I wouldn't wear this all the time or have it all the time, so wouldn't wear the filters all the time. So I wouldn't have to buy another set. Scan this whole thing, so that's for the 50mm f2, and I was like, well, it's not as fast, and I started getting into that, and I was like, well, an angry photographer loves this, the 56 1.4, so I backtracked and I thought, okay, I'm gonna get the 56 1.4, and I found it at a really good price, for $240. I think it's originally like 300 or something like that, or 329. So for $240 I could snag it. But then I remember that I don't really like Viltrox lenses too much because of clickless aperture ring. It really does bug me, and I've had some hit and misses with it, where I've had to return a copy to get another one because it wasn't focusing correctly. So there have been some issues with it. And so then I thought about the 56 1.2, and I thought, no, I've already had that lens, been there, done that, worn that t-shirt, I got the picture to go with it. And it's a lens that is beautiful, but and it has character, but I just don't enjoy shooting with the 56 1.2, because I think that, if you're buying it because you want to shoot in low light, it doesn't focus well in low light, and it's a lens that's really hard to focus manually. So it's not like you can even work on it using manual focus and low light. I mean, it's just it's a tough lens to use, man. Unless, you know, for studio portraits and stuff like that, it's great, but for what I'm doing, it just seems like an investment that would just be a waste. And honestly, the reason why I wanted to buy one of these other 50mm or around 50mm focal length lenses is because eventually, if I decide to invest in the 90 f2 or the 82.8 or 2.4 or whatever it is, you know, I can, and not have any remorse about it, not feel like I've already invested into another lens too much. So there's that. But then I started thinking, okay, so I've got these step down rings from 52 to 46. So, I mean, me getting the 53 or 50mm f2 wouldn't be that tough. You know, and I've started thinking, well, you know, I kind of do like first party gear and first party lenses just because I can trust them a little bit more. And I've had issues with Viltrox lenses. And then I started thinking, you know what, cost aside, I would probably keep that Fujifilm 50mm for a while. And if I ever wanted to shoot video with an XH1, and whenever I get one in the future, that's a really good lens to use for video. So, you know, I wouldn't even mind that too. And I actually like shooting at longer focal lengths for talking head videos because I like the compression of the background. Again, I don't care about bokeh or anything like that. I want to get compression in my shot. And so that's why I like the 50mm f2. The 56 I understand would get me more, and it's great for autofocus as well, and talking head would be great. But there's just something about the reliability of video on that 50mm f2 that really rings out to me. So then I was thinking, well, why don't I do something else? You know, I really could just buy the TT Artisans 50 1.2 and pair that with my 50mm f2 from Fujifilm, have two 50mm lengths, and for one of them that I want to go shoot something that's a little bit faster with, be able to get more light, and maybe I want to walk around and not have my $300, almost $400, because I buy used, almost $400 50mm f2, I can use that. I can go ahead and use my, you know, my TT Artisans. And plus, every once in a while, it actually is fun shooting in manual focus. I don't know if you guys ever do that, but it is fun walking around or being around family and shooting in manual focus, seeing what you get. Those lenses pair especially well with, you know, like Ilford HP5 and Tri-X 400 film recipes. So I think that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to go with the 50mm f2 and the $100 TT Artisans 50mm 1.2. I think that for me would be the best option. I get the best of both worlds. I get my fast aperture, which I would rarely use. That's the issue, is I would rarely use that fast aperture, and I get the safety and like the knowledge of knowing, okay, I'm using a Fujifilm lens aside from a third-party lens, which it just, you know, being honest, there have been issues with the X Pro 3 with Viltrox lenses in the past. I know they fixed that, but I've even seen people talk about with the 56 1.4. I've seen two reviewers talk about how they had issues with it. Once again, I'm not big on reviews. When I actually clicked on both of these reviews, it was to see what camera they paired it with, to be honest, because I wanted to see how the Viltrox looked on the X Pro 3. And so when I look at lenses, dude, I think about how they look on the camera. I'm just being honest. That X Pro 3 is good looking. I don't want to put, you know, something that's not going to be befitting of it on there. You know, I don't want to dress a sports car with I don't want to wrap it with one of those vinyl wraps for Coca-Cola, is basically how I'm feeling about putting a lens that I don't like the look of on the X Pro 3. Now, I don't like the look of the 50mm f2. I don't like the look of, honestly, all of the Fujikron lenses. I just don't like it. I understand that, you know, I think it was inspired by Leica. I think for Fujifilm, there is actually no reason why they had to take that body shape with those lenses. It was literally just inspired by Leica lenses. And that's why people started calling them the Fujikrons, I think, besides the f2 aperture. But, you know, I think I'd suck it up just for that. And to be honest, the TT Artisans looks just as similar. I'm gonna try to scratch off that TT Artisans logo on there, because I just don't like logos on my lenses, on my stuff. Honestly, that's one of the reasons why I love the X Pro 3, is because it doesn't have you know, anything. Whoa, where's the X Pro 3? It's in my bag. It doesn't have anything on it on the front. So that's just me. I know no one else sees it, but it bugs me. It really does bug me, and like I just want to get off. I'll gaff tape it. I'll scratch it off and rough up the lens to make it look retro. I don't care. I'll do something about it. But so yeah, I think I'm gonna go 50mm f2. and the TT Artisans 1.2. Now, I've looked online at TT Artisans and that lens, and I've seen nothing but good things. And once again, I'm not someone who cares about sharpness and shooting a chart and all these things so much, so I didn't really watch many reviews, but I read a lot of blogs about lenses and stuff. Because when you read a blog, I feel like you're able to get more information from people. They're not limited by time or trying to keep people's attention span or B-roll or anything. And they always couple it with photos that you can stop and look at and blow up and, you know, everything like that. I'm never upset about I'm never upset about sharpness whenever it comes to certain lenses. And that's just because, you know, let's think about it like this. If you shoot a 56 1.2 by Fujifilm or the 50 1.0 and you're shooting at 1.0 and you're able to dot them on the eye and get perfect eye autofocus at 1.0, the fall off from that 1.0 aperture is almost immediate. And so if you're shooting at 1.0, which a lot of people now, that's what they want to do, 1.0, 1.2, 1.4, your fall off is almost immediate. Why do you care about sharpness from corner to corner? Because you don't shoot that lens at f4 stop down, f2.8. You don't. So that's one of my things about not understanding why people shoot charts, especially with these portrait lenses. Why are you shooting charts with these portrait lenses, and why are you caring about sharpness whenever, let's be honest, you're only shooting for the eye, period. I mean, you just got to be honest with yourself and know yourself, brother. Like, literally, what is the point of debating how sharp a lens is on the eye whenever the eye is the only thing that's sharp, because everything else has been hit by massive fall off and it starts becoming cream? It makes no sense. Now for landscape lens at an f4, if a lens starts at f4, like a Canon 16 millimeter 16 to 32 f4, or is it 15 to 36, 16 32, 16 36, I haven't shot Canon in a while, so I totally forgot. With a landscape lens at f4 or something, that deserves to be looked at from corner to corner for sharpness. At 4, at 5.6, at f8, that deserves it. That needs to be looked at it, because you were never going, if they made a landscape lens at f2, I'm telling you right now, you would find very few people shooting landscape at f2, period. But I just don't understand. And whenever you're doing this, everyone's always stopping down. They're like, oh, at 56 millimeters, the sharpness in the center is the best over here at this lens. And when you turn around, though, a little bit mushy on all of them wide open. But whenever you're shooting at f4 and f5.6, it corrects itself. No one is shooting a portrait lens at f5.6. No one's doing that. So whenever you guys are shopping for lenses, if I were you, personally, I wouldn't give a damn about the sharpness. If you are a bokeh dude, buy it for the bokeh. Buy it for the maximum aperture, period. Stop buying things because you hear they're sharp. For those of you that are waiting off on that don't want to buy the 85, for those of you who don't want to buy any Viltrox lenses, I don't like them because of clickless aperture, and I just had a couple bad experiences. But the ones that work, they're fantastic lenses. I've owned the 23, the 33, I've owned the 85, and actually I think that's it, 23, 33, and I've owned the 85. I've owned all three of those. They are fantastic lenses. If you are into Rokinon lenses and Samyang, the third-party lenses for Sony, I have actually shot the 35, I want to say the 35, the 85, and they had a pancake 24 millimeter, and I thought all those were great. I had some bad issues with some, and I had to send the 24 millimeter back once, but I thought they were all great lenses. I even had the 14 millimeter. That was a fantastic lens. I thought they were all great lenses. But the thing that always gets me is that, I didn't care how sharp they were. If there was XYZ issue with, the bokeh and stuff like that. Because honestly, when you hand that photo to someone or you send them that digital file, unless they blow it up to 1,000%, they're not even going to notice that the eye is the only thing in focus. They're not going to blow it up to look how sharp that eye is, period. So I think, you put too much weight on stuff like that. You pressure yourself. You freak out about your own stuff. You want this 51.0 because of bokeh, and you think that's going to make your shots look great. But I mean, are you going to shoot at 1.0? And if you are, I would not watch a single review about focus, about sharpness. That would be the dumbest thing ever, because you don't care about sharpness. You just care about if you're going to hit the eye with autofocus and if you're going to be able to get that fall off. If you shoot at 1.0, you don't care about focus, or you don't care about sharpness. You care about shallow depth of field. Those are two different things, and they're never intertwined, and they're never connected. Never. Because sharpness as a whole, corner to corner, is totally deleted by a shallow depth of field. Now, unless you're shooting all your portrait work on a 51.0 for Fujifilm at f5.6, you should worry about it. You should really look into that. But if you're not, don't worry about it. If you want the 56 1.2 for, because you like the compression and stuff, and the same thing with the 50, the same thing with the 90. That's why compression to me matters more. Compression to me matters more, and look of the glass and character matters more to me than how wide open it gets and how sharp it gets. For the reason that I just said, because compression tells a lot more about a story. Can help you tell a lot more about a story than sharpness when you're shooting wide open. So if you shoot the Fujifilm 16mm f1.4, which is a 24mm focal length, and you're getting up in someone's face to get a portrait type shot, not only is there going to be horrible distortion in their face, and it's going to make them look wider, but once again, even with the bokeh in the background, unless you're completely on their face and their eye, the bokeh is going to look weird. Reason being, because there's no compression. So it looks like there's a whole bunch of blah behind someone, and besides, only this is sharp, and everything else past their shoulders and on the other side of their face is blurry. You don't care about sharpness. Don't let these people, these reviewers, these photo gatekeepers talk to you about sharpness. You know how sharp you need it to be, and you don't need it that sharp. Same thing goes, 23mm 1.4, 35mm effective focal length. I know people that shoot portraits on that, and it's fantastic, but if you're shooting those wide open, you don't have that much compression, and a lot of times if you see people shoot with these wider focal lengths, they have to have a busier background. Why? Because if the background's at times, the background's too plain. It has to be a really perfect background, but I'm just saying there's a reason why they say longer focal lengths are portrait focal lengths, and that's just because the compression, the way it brings the background to you, the way it makes everything seem like it's a painting, like it's all flat together. Sorry, once again, allergies. So whenever you're looking at the 51.0 and the 56 1.2 and the 90 f2 and things like that, the reason why the 90 f2 at an f2 maximum aperture can be considered a really great portrait lens, or the 50 to 140 at 2.8 can be considered a great portrait lens, and that a lot of people would recommend those over the 51.0 and the 56 1.2. The reason is because of compression. It's not about bokeh, it's not about sharpness. What you fall in love with these long portrait lenses is the compression, not the bokeh. The bokeh just adds to it. But the compression is what a lot of you are falling in love with about. I mean, the bokeh on a 60mm 1.4, if I focus on this really up close on its side, it's going to look fantastic. But if I take the same shot at 1.4 from 2 steps back, it's not going to look that great. Even if it's focused on this and it's tack sharp in the center, whoa, it's not going to look that great. Even if it's focused on this and it's tack sharp in the center, it's not going to look great. And that's one thing you have to recognize and think about, is the fact that compression plays a big part of how your photos look and how your portraits look. That's why I don't care about the 50 f2 being an f2 lens, is because I'm looking for the compression. And honestly, I don't mind with more of a person's face being in focus than not. And I'm not worried about sharpness, because, well, sharpness is a little bit of a myth whenever it comes to portrait lenses, because most people shoot at 1.2, 1.6, 1.4, 1.8, and there's fall off immediately in good lenses, and you're not sharp anywhere but your eye and maybe a nose. And so that's just me. That's what I think about it. I just don't understand the whole conversation about bokeh. I just, that's just an issue I have with it. Not even an issue. That's just something I've had to learn over the years, because I started looking at my photos basically with the 56 1.6 or 52, basically with the 56 1.2. And with other fast lenses I've used from like Canon, the Sigma 51.4, the 70-200 2.8, lenses like that, the 24 to 70 RF f2. With lenses like that, I had to just start basically realizing that I shot wide open a lot. And when I shot wide open a lot, yeah, it was sharp on the eyeball, but everything else was blurry. And if that's a great portrait, that's cool and that's good, and I can dig that. But I'm not really losing that much as far as sharpness if I stop down to f2. And honestly, I just like the background with a lot of my stuff. Once again, on my website, there's some shots that I shot at f2. On the family shots, I shot those at f2.8 on all the way through, whether it on my Sigma or 51.4 or on my 200 millimeter 2.8 prime lens on my Canon RF mount, or Canon EOS R. So with an RF mount adapter. So yeah, so I'm just, you know, maybe I'm a cheapskate. Maybe I just, because I don't care to spend $1,000 on lenses, or maybe I just, you know, I haven't watched The Matrix in a long time, so I don't remember anything that happens. But maybe I took the red or the blue pill, and I can see through for what it is. That camera manufacturers want to sell you these fast lenses, say you can use in light, but if you use a manual focus on them, it's going to be hard to actually focus up. And then if we're being honest, they're not really that sharp, wide open. And who's shooting in dark to where they need a 0.95 lens or a 0.10 lens, or a 1.0 lens. But anyway, that's just me. That's my rant for the day. It's a little bit more all over the place, just having a little bit foggy headed. But we have some content up pretty soon this weekend that I think you guys will really enjoy. I'm going to talk with a couple of photographers. Coming up, I've got from Instagram, _ Dylan's View. He is actually from across the pond. Great dude, love his work. Very, very nice guy from what I can tell. So I'll be talking to him sometime today, and that'll be up soon as well. Just discussing photographs and whatnot. And then I encourage you, while that's playing in the background, check out his Instagram. I'll go ahead and put all of his information up on that whenever it happens, and when that video comes out. And then I'll be talking to a guy. He has a YouTube channel. His name is Anthony, and his name is frame.count on Instagram. And once again, another great guy, shoots film, and his shots look amazing. Both these guys do a great job of composition. Frame.count has wild colors in his shots, shooting film on a Texas Leica Fujifilm camera, and I'm excited about both of them. Got some more people coming up, hopefully some of you. Once again, these guys may not be the biggest names in photography right now, but you know, I'm not professional, man, by any means, and I just love the art. So I look forward to talking to them, look forward to picking their brains, seeing what they like, and I look forward to you, all 118 people viewing this, to be able to see some people that are creating every day in the areas they live in, going out and shooting. And I hope it inspires you to shoot. I hope it inspires you to be more creative in your professional work, and I hope it just reignites the love of the game that you have for photography. So anyway, have a good one. Enjoy.